Coffee Cupping. I'm Phil, the Barista Coffee Dude with BaristaCoffeeLife.com, and today I was actually sampling out some coffee that I roasted, and I realized I don't think I've ever done a video on cupping, and if I have, it's been like forever ago, so I was just going to do an updated one. So, coffee cupping, what it is it's a means of testing a coffee quickly and like low maintenance, just minimal setup, and it's used for purchasing primarily. The point of it is more on like the farm side and the roasting side for a quality assurance. Now, quality assurance is before something goes out to the customer. So you use it as a way to kind of blast through a bunch of coffees and figure out, okay, what do I want to buy? What's going to fit in my lineup? Will this Colombia replace this Peru for this blend? You know, like seasons changed or prices like right now went sky high. So maybe you need to sub in one of these more expensive coffees with something that costs a little bit less. And you don't want to compromise on the quality or that flavor profile. Like you don't want to switch flavor profiles on your customers like in a heartbeat. You want to like gradually introduce stuff. So as you're phasing something out, you're going to have to be phasing something else in. Cupping is how you take that coffee and basically put it as like a litmus test of like, can I use this? How can I use this? Do I even want to buy it in the first place? Et cetera, et cetera. So the golden ratio, which is 1.63 grams of coffee for every 1 ounce of water. Now, these glasses that I have, these are just 4.5 ounce Gibraltar glasses. What that golden ratio of 1.63 times 4.5 ounces, it comes out to 7.3 grams of coffee. So that's what I have right here. This is a Mexico that I had roasted, it was about 3 days ago. Generally, you want to cup within about 24 to 72 hours as a rule of thumb after a roast. So you have a little bit that you're just going to throw through the grinder and purge it out. Now the grind setting, you want it to be a little bit coarser than a Chemex and a little bit finer than a French press, but kind of in that like coarse kind of ballpark is where you want things. So we've purged the grinder, so now we're dealing with the actual coffee itself. Ooh, lost a bean there. All right, so we got our water just off the boil. Now, if you look at the setup here, there are two cupping vessels that have coffee in it. I have an empty one here, and then I have one for the spoons. I'm going to explain this setup here in a little bit. You're also going to need just like a little gram scale, something that's more on the accurate side, and you're going to need a timer, which I have one on this scale. So timeline, I tend to go for 4 minutes. 3.5 minutes is fine. In the past, I've gone 3 minutes. So as long as you stay consistent, that's the bigger issue. Now, when I'm pouring the water, if you noticed, I was pouring off to the side just a little bit, and that makes kind of like a vortex going on. And that just makes sure all the grounds get saturated. So I'm going to add a little bit of water in this third vessel here. So we got our cupping spoons. You'll want 2 of those because we're going to be scraping what's called the crust. We have an empty one, which is where the grounds are going to go. Then we have a hot water, clean water for rinsing the spoons between samples. So that's kind of the setup here. Typically, you want to smell the coffee before you add water. That's your fragrance. And then once water is added, then that becomes the aroma. So smell kind of has 2 vocabulary words. So fragrance and aroma, depending on if it's dry coffee or if it's saturated coffee. Now, when you're actually smelling the coffee, there's going to be one more phase when we take a spoon, we push back the coffee grounds. It's called breaking the crust. And then you're going to want to catch that aroma and smell it as it's coming like from the liqueur, like the beverage. And so you're going to have like 3 nose sensory times that you're sampling the coffee. And then you're going to go to slurping it. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. If you don't choke and like cough when you're slurping and cupping, you're doing it wrong. Now, a little tip, when you are smelling, you don't just want to be like, this is kind of weird, but you actually want to be breathing in and almost like a dog, like, and you'll get the full sensory smell by doing that. So this is super nerdy stuff. I'm glad you're here for it. And I'm glad I'm here for this. It's a lot of fun. And then cupping spoons. These are very special to me because I moonlighted at, that means like did a couple fill-in shifts at a coffee shop in Kansas City. And then this was one of the things that they left me with as like a little thank you. So I don't ever share my cupping spoons. Most coffee professionals are pretty particular when it comes to cupping spoons. They kind of like have their favorite set. These are silver plated. And the reason that is, again, is it provides like a clean, crisp, clear taste from start to finish, because silver is like antimicrobial, cleans well, et cetera, et cetera. So again, you're tasting like the coffee as opposed to the metallic from the spoon. So we're at 3.5 minutes right now. And when I'm sampling the coffees, I poured this one on the left firstly, and then this one on the right was the second pour. So I'm actually going to follow that same sequence. If I had more than one coffee, I would do this 3-cup setup, like over here, and then 3-cup, 3-cup, and that way everything stays segmented. The reason you want to do 2 samples is because you're actually not just comparing the coffee itself, you're comparing the 2 samples side to side. You can even do like 3, 5 samples, however nerdy you want to get with it, feel free. I don't like doing a whole lot of dishes, so that's why I stick with just 2. But if there are any defects or any inconsistencies between these 2 samples, you're going to be able to catch it, hopefully, and then that ties back in with your purchasing decision or your roasting or like whatever it is that you're testing for. All right, I'm going to break the crust. Not bad. I'm rinsing the spoon. All right, so this one on the left had a little more aroma. Now I'm going to skim the crust, which is taking the spoons back to back, and I'm going to open them like as I'm going around the rim of the glass. So essentially, I'm just catching all the coffee grounds. And rinse it. Same thing over here. I also have a notepad and a pen. All right, here we go. So slurping it, just like wine tasting, breathing in, slurping. Now, a lot of times you can have like a spittoon, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I forgot to rinse it. So this one's kind of chalky. There's definitely a lot of like chocolate bitters. So this one, I have roasted it before, although this is a new roaster that I was running it through. So that's why I'm cupping it, because I'm actually trying to dial in the roast profile on this new roaster that I'm playing with, which is an Alio Bullet, by the way. And I'll be doing some videos on that. Better believe it. Okay, so it's kind of flat. What I mean by that, there's not a lot of acidity that's going on in the cup. I'm definitely getting a lot of like the chocolate bitters, like your earthy, uh, almost like your cacao, like a cocoa powder. That's what I'm tasting, a lot of it. Uh, some of the past roasts I've done on this, it had a lot of orange that was running through, almost like a Tanzania or something like you'd expect with like a Guatemala Huehuetenango. So just sort of that orangey, orange rind, like a little bit of citric pop. This roast was like 13 and a half minutes. It went long on accident. So I think that kind of killed a lot of the acidity that would have been in there. Um, it's not bad. I'm not super happy with that roast. So what I'm going to do is take what I taste and then shorten up the roast. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with the heat at the beginning of it. And I'm going to try and probably lower the end temperature just a little bit and maybe adjust the airflow down and try and like hang on to some of that acidity. So that's an example of how you take a cupping and like we only use 15 grams of coffee to do this. And I'm able to understand the roast just based on such a small sample. And that's what cupping's all about. So I'm gonna let these cool and I'm gonna try them again at room temperature and maybe one other time in between. But literally that's cupping. It is so freaking simple. If you don't have Gibraltars, if you don't have actual like porcelain cupping dishes that are glazed and wood fired and who knows, like literally just grab a freaking coffee cup. Like grab these were 50 cents at Goodwill. Like it doesn't gotta be fancy. Like use regular spoons if you don't have silver plated ones, but really like dig in. And even on like the barista side, you can cup for like practice. You can do blends. Say like one of these was Mexico, and then I had a Sumatra, and I wanted to play with a different blend. I could do like half Mexico, half Sumatra, and there's your 50-50 blend. Or even like tasting the two of those together. So there's a lot of different ways you can use these samples and do some really cool stuff with coffee. So that's about it. I'm going to do some dishes and looking forward to doing more videos. I'm super pumped about the setup. My wife kind of gifted me this for Christmas, like these tables. And so it's a place I can take all my accumulated coffee stuff, put it in one spot. And I'm super excited to start cranking out some videos for you guys. And as always, the point and the purpose of Barista Coffee Life is to connect people and fuel dreams through coffee. So hopefully you learned something. Peace out. Love you guys. Take care.